Good morning. Rain has come. Anyway, 'tis England after all. God is love. Now, a loving God and yet there is such suffering in the world. I think I raised it yesterday and we've been talking about it. Sarah Jane and I had a trip up to Harpenden. I've actually got to get heart pills, basically. Not getting blood out of a stone because I've sort of moved from one GP. I haven't got one up in Northumbria. I wonder why. Just a bit occupied with other matters, I think. Anyway, we'll go back on Monday. Hopefully. Anyway, my personal thing, but it's just nice to have a trip out anyway. So, I mean, through all the centuries, there has been suffering. Of the 12 apostles, I'm pretty sure 11 of them were actually martyred, for heaven's sake. I think John managed to survive. That's just for starters. With the first martyr, Stephen, the way it's described in Acts, he was looking up to heaven, so I don't think his physical body actually felt any pain, quite frankly. And it seems to go on through the centuries, this man's inhumanity to mankind, that. I read the whole of the chapter 15. John 15. I am the vine, fruit and the vine. Greater love hath no man that he lay down his life for his friends. And the blasted military used that particular phrase. How you can have a military chaplain, I have no idea. It's a complete contradiction in terms, and the biggest contradiction in terms, when finally I sort of realised, after many years, is having the Queen as the supreme governor of the Church of England, but also the head of the army. It is a complete contradiction in terms. Therefore, the whole organisation of the Church of England is utterly false. Through and through, you cannot have an egg which is good in parts. The curate's egg. Hence why I'm not a priest in the Church of England. Britain, but England is, in its history, a warlike nation prepared to kill to achieve its ends. Kill other human beings. Well, I mean, fine, go off and kill. Stay in the jungle, but don't pretend to be Christian. And yet they do. I mean, I spent acres of my time at the Cathedral and Abbey Church of St Albans. Yes, going through the services. One of the ones I particularly like, actually, is said evensong. You do it what's called antiphonally, so there are a few of you on either side of the choir stalls in that beautiful, beautiful building. But again, even the building is a monstrosity. If you look into the history a bit, there were gifts of land and dukes and earls, and my cathedral's bigger than your cathedral, and all the rest of it. Very worldly. Morning, sweetie. I'm just making a film. I mean, what can I do about it? Well, at the very least, I can recognise the hypocrisy of it. It's monstrous. Now, is that to say all the people who are paid up card-bearing members of the Church of England are false? Well, I mean, it's judge not lest ye be judged. It took me forever to see it. And at the time, actually, I was sort of very happy. Back in the 90s, this was. Going to these services, all very well done in the best possible cases of Kenny Everett used to say. Well, I think Journey of 1,000 Miles start the first step. So the first step is to recognize it. And then I speak about it. Amen. No, it's not a happy ending, that. I like a happy ending. I'm awfully sorry. I'm all for fairy tales with a happy ending. God is love. Right, so how does a loving God allow the suffering? It just is not something one can answer easily. It does not make me question my faith, but I can see clearly, obviously, why many people would say, okay, look at the world, it's a total mess, suffering left, right and centre, and you believe in a loving God. Well, it's just not a straightforward matter to answer that person, those people. And I do not have a straightforward, simple answer. Myself personally, I can recognise that suffering, in fact, is a way of God sort of teaching you things you wouldn't otherwise know. Personal suffering. So if one's looking at, or any number of ways one can suffer personally, in one's family and so on, friends, and cancer, and any number of things that happen, and seemingly unfair things. Anyway, my faith teaches me God has his purpose for us all. Yes, there is suffering. Clearly, I recognise it. I'm not blind to it, for heaven's sake. And the best I can offer is to try and alleviate it. Amen. You like my little corner here in the kitchen? Hobble. It's a super little pad, this, actually. She really is being marvellous. Sarah Jane, inviting me into her home. Amen.